A similar punch and counter punch at Etihad Stadium last night with the Blues jumping the gun, and yet Ken Hinkley responded with a different forward line setup as well.
Yeah, and you're right. This is Ken Hinkley showing his coaching prowess. If you have a look at the way that they set up the structure here in the second quarter, drew all the players back, and all of a sudden they got caught a couple of times, Carlton. So Cade Simpson says, well, I better go and fill this hole. But his man, Matt White, runs off to the right. And where do you reckon the ball goes when it comes out? Straight to Matty White, who looks like he's going to be a great pickup for them. And then he drives it long. There's confusion down back, manning up, and all of a sudden Schultz slips out the back. He gets the big mark over the top, and once again they expose the fragility of the setup. Here you get a couple of players that were pushing up to try and zone off. And again, another centre clearance, confusion down back.
Great
kick over the top. There, all the Carlton defenders are looking at each other going, hang on, who was responsible for him? They just got cut open. I thought it was really good coaching, Jared.
Just let me ask you one example of the confidence in this team. Angus Monfils has got the footy. He looks up. He sees Ollie Wines in his second year, isn't he? Yeah. On Mark Murphy, the Carlton captain, and he kicks it to the one-on-one and backs his man.
Yeah, there's no look. I have underestimated Port Adelaide. I put my hand up straight away and said that after 1 week. What you see in them, the way they play, is there's an attitude, there's a belief, there's a confidence in the coaching, in the game style, and in the teammates themselves. And that's a perfect example, isn't it?
It was, and I think it was best summed up by Ken Hinkley, who's got great faith in the athleticism of his group. This is what Ken had to say straight after the match.
We're just a great running team. Teams know that. Teams know they're going to play against a hard-running Port Adelaide. We're going to be a hard-running team, and we're going to make it a tough day. If you come and play against Port Adelaide, you're going to run, and you're going to have to run really hard for 4 quarters.
Darren Burgess has come back from Europe, taken over the fitness at Port Adelaide, a position he held previously. He's an unsung hero in this, I reckon. Because as much as Kenny Hinkley would want them in that frame of mind and so fit, a bloke's got to get them fit, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. But such is their confidence level now. If they're in the contest at three-quarter time, they don't think they can win. They expect to win. They expect to win by rolling over the top of their opponent.
And there's proof of that. I mean, their last quarter record is outstanding, isn't it?
It is. I want to explore later about Carlton's lack of performance in the last quarter, but here is the record, the fourth quarter record of Port Adelaide, and it speaks for itself. Only Hawthorn on top, and I think most fair people would say they've got a more talented list, so they're entitled to win more last quarters.
They are extremely, extremely good. And this is where the belief stems from. So you start putting together records like this and you think, well, we only have to be close and we know we'll win. And it's amazing how that's reflected in the way they're playing. And if you have a look at the last quarter stats against Carlton, well, it was just one-sided footy. They smashed them. I mean, they made Carlton look like they couldn't run. Have a look at the difference in numbers here. Twice as many possessions, winning the contested possessions, a lot of run for uncontested possessions and clearances. And the fact that you can have twice as many touches and win the tackles 14-4, well, that's a sign of something special.
Well, it staggered me, the tackling count. 24 tackles in the first quarter. Carlton were in control of the match. 4 tackles only. That cannot simply be fitness, Jason. I think they'll be addressing a few issues of leadership, etc. in the last...
Jared, the coach said that they're not fit. Mickey Malthouse said that they're underdone.
Look, I accept what Mick's saying, but it doesn't excuse your lack of performance in the first 10 minutes of that last quarter. More on that shortly.
Yeah,
Jared Polak hasn't all of a sudden become a super athlete, and yet his last quarter, Mike, was quite superb, confirming that they've got themselves a great pickup.
Look, I think Brisbane knew that they were giving up a good player, didn't they? Because he was a first-round draft pick. But this
they toiled with him for a number of years, Mike.
This is a kid that obviously clearly wanted to go home, just wanted to get back to Adelaide. Well, that peace of mind makes a big difference, I reckon.
Yeah, look, I'm sure it does. But in Brisbane's defence, Jared Polak has also said Ken Hinkley told him he had to improve his contested footy. He had to get harder, he had to toughen up, or he's not going to make it.
That.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not until you get on your last chance at a second club that the penny drops, and it has with him by the looks of it. Although, look, there was still a couple of fragilities in his game.
Yeah, there was one thing he wouldn't have been happy with last night, but his last quarter was outstanding, wasn't it?
Oh, well, and I couldn't work out who was on him.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, you covered the game, didn't you?
I did.
Who was on him? I was waiting for you to tell me on telly. This bloke's getting 12 possessions. I said, Jared, tell me who's on him.
Well, Mike, your question fell on deaf ears. I think that question might have been ringing around a few questions at Carlton.